Okay, let's start off with GJ. A lot of you have been requesting this as soon as I posted what pairs did you want. So of course we're going to start off with GJ. Now GJ, interesting, is on H4 we have a buy over here and a sell up here. But on the daily perspective, it is still in a sell zone on the daily perspective. Okay, so either you can choose to trade with the daily setup or the H4 setup. This is entirely up to you. If you are going for a sell and you want the best price, you can wait for the H4 over here because it is still within the daily. So on the daily perspective, either the price can either shoot up and tap into H4 before dropping if it decides to respect both. But after respecting these, it needs to break this H4 in order to drop even more for the daily. Okay, so again, buy, sell on the daily, on the H4, and a sell for the daily zone over here. So either you can monitor M5 and 15 for any entries on H4, or M30 or H1 for the daily setup. Okay, so what can GJ do? This is going to be quick because I am outside and in a Temple's Garden. So current price is over here. If it decides, we'll go with the H4 setup for this analysis because we are intraday traders. But if you want to swing, you can monitor daily. Either way, you can still TP from the H4 and hold some with BE for the daily setup. Okay, so if it decides to respect our sell zone on H4, it can potentially catch, or we can potentially catch a sell down. But if it breaks above, then potentially it might want to test a higher zone. Vice versa, if it decides to drop into our buy zone and respects that, then potentially we can catch a buy back up. But if it breaks below, then potentially it might want to test a lower zone. But because we have a sell on both the H4 and the daily present, there is a likelier chance that GJ will sell down. Okay, these are all games of probability. So that's for GJ. Next pair we have GA. I picked GA again. Some of you were asking for it, as well as we do have high impact used for GBP pairs. So sell zone up here, buy zone down here. Why sell? Engulfing buy that failed, pressing back created, and engulfing sell within the zone. Then we have engulfing buy meets, well, not an engulfing buy. The engulfing buy actually happened on this one. EB meets EB for a buy. So current price is here. GA. Wait for the next H4 during this year session. If it comes into a sell zone and respects it, then potentially you can catch a sell back down. But if it breaks above, then potentially it might want to test a higher zone. Vice versa, if it decides to drop into a sell zone and respects that, then potentially you can catch a buy back up. But if it breaks below, then potentially you might want to test a lower zone. Okay, once you've entered, make sure you count 40 pips from your entry, and that will be your SL. Last but not least, we have UJ, one of my favorite pairs. So sell zone up here, buy zone. Sell zone because engulfing buy failed. Then we have engulfing sell, failed. Price came back, created an engulfing buy, so hence we have a buy zone and a sell zone. Now for UJ, what can it do? Again, if it decides to shoot up during the euro session to enter our sell zone and respects that, then potentially we can catch a sell down. But if it breaks above, then potentially you might want to test a higher zone. Vice versa, if it decides to drop into our buy zone and respects that, then potentially you can catch a buy back up. But yet again, if it decides to break the zone, then potentially it might want to test a lower zone. So that's for the three pairs. I'll get to answering your questions in a bit. Trade smart, trade wisely, guys. Bye.